Welcome to Winning the Challenger Sale, where we help you win the sales moments that matter every day. Today, we kick off a new month-long theme. For the next few weeks, our core focus is going to be how to accelerate your pipeline. Here to help us do just that today is Kristina Jaramillo. Kristina is the president of Personal ABM, co-host of the ABM Done Right podcast. Kristina and her business partner, Eric Gruber, believe that truly to succeed, marketing, sales, and client success need to work in alignment, focused on creating personal, individualized touchpoints in the buyer's journey. I recently appeared on their podcast with Eric, so I'm delighted to bring you over to my house so we can speak, Kristina, and welcome to the Challenger Sales Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of Challenger, so I'm excited to speak with you.
Awesome. Yes, I know it's been a long time coming. We've had a lot of scheduling conflicts, so I'm really excited to have you here as well. You've been doing this work for a long time, and you've seen a lot of changes in the marketplace, especially around ABM. 2024, what do you view as probably that unique challenge in the space right now?
Oh, I think most people are, already probably had this problem overflowing from 2023 is to do more with less, and try to be as strategic as possible and put their focus where they can get the most ROI. And I think ABM is one of those places that more people, if they haven't already adopted it, should look into it, see if it's something that they should do, and of course integrate Challenger with it because they do really go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think a lot of people know ABM stands for account-based marketing, but just from your viewpoint, how do you define ABM?
So to me, it's about creating better account experiences. So it really should be account-based. I know people are going with everything, going ABX, whatever you want to call it, just account-based experiences. How are we going to create better ones? How are we going to deliver better ones so that we can, as a team, not just necessarily a marketing play or sales play, how are we going to, as a team, drive greater revenue, expand existing clients, retain clients, protect, expand, whatever we're using it for, as a team, not just a function or something that only marketing does.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea to stop calling it ABM, but really ABX. And I love the idea of experiences. And, your company talks a lot about this alignment between marketing, sales, customer success. And, neither one of them are broken. It's just they're very siloed. So, how do you kind of break down the best way for all of these teams to work together when you think about that individual journey?
Yeah, sure. Like you said, go-to-market's not broken. I really think it's how the complete account experience is delivered, whether that's on the prospect or customer side. I think that's broken. And I think we forget that each team's interactions, whether it's the sales side, the marketing side, customer success, is going to deliver some sort of impact, hopefully positive, on the other functions. So it's how we're going together as a team. And I want to share an example. We have a client that is in the supply chain and logistics and freight tech. And they came to us saying that they wanted to invest in demand-based. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's popular ABM tech.
Right.
Before they wanted to even work with us, they wanted to buy the platform. And we were trying to tell them that, this is only going to scale those bad transactional sales and marketing processes that they were already having, and make their solution a nice to have versus a must have. And they were already seeing that this type of approach was leading to lower value deals, because when we took a look at their win-loss opportunities in their current pipeline, we were noticing that. We reviewed what was happening across a buyer's journey and customer life cycle and saw that they needed a complete account based go-to market so they could bring in high value accounts. And so more of their audience would see them as a must-have, so they could accelerate those accounts to revenue, whether it was net new, whether it was expansion, whether it was protecting. They needed to fix that experience versus just taking more of a targeted demand gen approach, which is what I think technology winds up being when you get any of the ABM platforms and kind of just set it and forget it and think it's going to work. I think that's one of the bigger mistakes of why people think there's a disconnect.
Absolutely. I know at Challenger, we use Terminus and we obviously use our platform, but one of the big things that, and I know Challenger is famous for this, is around the commercial insights, right? So essentially saying how do you differentiate yourself? How do you teach and not pitch, and make sure that it's not just a ton of noise coming at your buyers? And so I do think that that's really an important piece, as I think a lot of people, when you think demand gen, you can almost think volume play. Same, obviously, technology platform is more of a volume play. I almost think about it when I get those automated like bot emails, and I get 100 of them a day. I'm like, that is certainly not a tailored message to me. So I think, to your point, it's really important. I think technology can be a great enablement of the right messaging, the right individualized, customized material. But it, like anything, if it just becomes a bunch of noise and actually more of a distraction and more of an annoyance, then it's probably not working. So, if someone's getting into ABM right now, what, like we just talked about the technology piece, but like what impact does it have on their revenue and, not just their pipeline, but like, what is that impact? Like, what should they be seeing and how long does it take to sort of measure your ABM?
Yeah, I think there's different ways of doing this. So one of the things that I like to say is when people are doing ABM, it should be that these accounts are going to at least, if not in double, at least go up 50%. So these are for your bigger
Mhm.
deals, the way that I view ABM, because we focus more so on the one-to-one versus the one-to-many and
Right.
one-to-few. Um, so it really impacts the pipeline as it can increase revenue. It can, when done correctly, it can fix business revenue problems that may be found depending, every organization is a little different. So by changing teams' interactions and experience delivered, one of our clients went from getting their services into 1 to 2 locations to going to regional and national pilots. We have clients that are doing increasing deal size, like I said, 2 to 3x, able to go up market and compete with legacy platforms. And they're growing they're shortening sales cycles, improving win rates, and protecting at-risk accounts, and even driving account growth, and in some cases even winning back customers. In most cases, teams can't be talking about where and how to move the needle as a result on revenue, because we're not tying ABM to business challenges that are tied to revenue. So if we can figure out an issue where there's revenue leaks,
Mm-hmm.
how we can fix them, and instead of how most ABM programs are focused at the top of the funnel,
Right.
even though the greatest impact is really on the middle and the bottom of the funnel, then when we can fix those leaks, we can try to use ABM to plug them up.
So you talked about, and I think that's a really important approach of that. And so you talked about, some of your customers, and do people use ABM more for existing accounts or for new logo, or across the board? Like, where do you see the most success around that?
I've seen people use it for everything. Personally, the success that I've seen the most is for protecting at-risk accounts
Mm-hmm.
and growing them, and for also bringing in maybe more divisions within the account. Net new is possible. It's just harder because if you're using things like intent, which your competitors are using. You're
Right.
using things like what are they doing or digesting on our sites? Are they attending our events? It's really, you don't know where they are in their stage. Are they just doing
Right.
some research? Is it for them? Is it because they're curious? Are they doing it based on a client? So it's very hard. It's possible, but I always think you can to start with at risk or even go to existing accounts to expand them, is you're going to learn the most there. And then you can apply those teachings to net new and to even scale the program down the line. But I think working with what you know best and who you know best and who you serve the best, then you can try to look
Yeah.
for accounts that are similar to them and go after them that way after you've proved your uh, proof of concept and had some success with the existing accounts.
So give me an example. So, at Challenger, so about 70% of our revenue is existing customers. So obviously we have, and the way we do our sales functions is we have our AEs, which are our new logo, and then we have our ADs, which are account directors existing. So if I'm an AD, an existing account director, and I'm in a company and say I'm in 3 business units, and I know that there's 6 business units I could potentially be in, what would be like the best way to start as far as like if I'm going to, create an account-based marketing program for them?
So I would make sure that you talk to those customers to see the exact benefit that you are having on them, because obviously I've heard this a lot of times that sales thinks they're delivering or even marketing thinks they're delivering X, and then the customer will say
Mhm.
Y. So talk to those customers, see what's going on, where you're being successful, and then try to ask for those introductions as well to those new business units, but so that make sure you have that proof of concept, proof of successes and actual tangible successes. Like when we started with this particular department, they were having these problems. This is the steps that we took to fix it. And this is the benefits of those fixes and how it's impacting not only that unit, but then customers, operations, financial, even if you can get down to how that particular unit that's using your solution or offering, how that's even benefiting outside departments of the organization. If we can get a bigger picture of how it's impacting the organization as a whole, then you're making that stronger business case and use case as to why you should get into those other departments or other business units.
Yeah, no, I love that. And one of the things we emphasize at Challenger is really this idea of teaching and tailoring, and that helps you earn that trust, right? You can't just say like, hey, introduce me to, your counterpart over in Singapore, if you haven't, really earned that trust. And I do think that obviously it takes time to earn that trust. And I think by constantly, we always say by constantly teaching and not pitching, you do earn that trust, and then you become that trusted advisor, and then they become what we call in Challenger terms your mobilizer, right? Someone who's going to
Yes.
help you continue to get that into different business units. So, is that kind of your approach as well? Like thinking kind of like the Challenger approach and how you sell and how you kind of work with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure that you get tangible results. And I think a lot of people miss this step when they first start working with a client. They might not say or document where they were prior to working with you, so that you
Mm-hmm.
can see where they've grown, where they've succeeded, where they've gotten better results or financial increases or whatever they're trying to solve for or fix, so that you can see that before and after. So you make that business cases, why stay, why expand. This is
Right.
what we're doing for you. And this is why we want to get into the business unit, so they can see similar results, if not better. That before and after is really important. And I think that's something that, because some organizations are so siloed, they miss that key step, and it makes it
Mm-hmm.
harder for customer success to retain or expand, or for sales to, even depending how you're organized, if they have to go back and try to figure out those kind of steps and rehash it, you can lose trust really easily that way, because it looks like you don't know them well enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know one of the things we really push with our customer success team is, early on in that kickoff call, that first call, making sure we're talking about like, how do you measure success? What does success look like for your organization? Obviously we help with sales training, and, the goal is always typically revenue growth, right, for our customers. But revenue growth is kind of that middle, the middle, like the holy grail. But how you get there and how you actually get that revenue growth looks different for different customers. And so we do try to really understand, that measurement, right? So you started your career in LinkedIn marketing before you started your business in 2011. So, obviously we know that social selling continues to kind of be all the rage, and social marketing, and we hear a lot about that. I did a whole month around social selling as well. How do you kind of use social selling in ABM strategy, and how do you sort of wrap that together?
Yeah, well, it plays a key part of programs, and it's really, like you said, it's popular, it's not going anywhere. And it's something that everyone needs to, get on get on the bandwagon. So most sales teams and customer success teams LinkedIn profiles, if you look at them, I'd say about 95, if not more percent, are resumes, and they don't show business relevance to those target accounts that they want to win,
Mm.
protect, and expand. They're not going to care about that you won business, President's Club six
Right,
figures or
right.
whatever, right? So when you sell to enterprises or you sell high value deals, you have to be relevant across all channels and each touch point. So that's means that you have to be relevant even on your LinkedIn profile or any social
Right.
presence that you have, or any website or digital facing aspect that the customer is going to interact with or prospect. So you have to come to every social, email, and live interaction with a point of view about their business. Show them
Mhm.
that you understand what they're going through. Show them that you understand their challenges. Each interaction should be intentional. It shouldn't be like, I have to send 500 emails or 500 messages, LinkedIn messages, or whatever the tally is. Each invite to connect, each nurture message, follow-up message, each comment has to be intentional and should be thought of as like a mini sales conversation in your prospect's
Mhm.
mind. You need to think about the value that needs to be delivered to specific accounts versus just maybe building your network, building awareness, And to me, it's really not about how many connections you have, how many likes you have, how many views are on your updates. It's about the engagement that you're creating with those target accounts. If you're getting the top to bottom and left to right engagement across the company in order to get more people on board. And it's about those relationships that you develop and how social plays a role in the account experience that you're delivering. So it's really important to remember each individual interaction, each experience affects one another, each other. So, they're all connected. So if
Right.
you're not having the right social experience, it's going to impact your email and your live conversations, and it's going to impact the complete relationship. And one misstep, unfortunately, on digital can set you back. So you have to be very
Mhm.
careful and very intentional why you're sending any kind of content or message through any social channel.
No, I completely agree. I mean, one of the things, I heard this stat and I kind of try to keep it in the back of my mind is like, you should actually be like, even if you're not posting, like you don't necessarily need to post to LinkedIn every day, but you should be, even if you just spend an hour a day commenting on some of your target accounts, understanding what they're talking about on social or commenting on their posts or understanding like what's most important to them, because I think it's always fascinating when you start following, some of the people that you sell to and you realize, oh, wait, I wasn't aware of that or I didn't know that. And so I do think
Exactly.
that is like such a critical thing because we get pushback from our from our sales team, like, hey, I don't want to be I'm not public. I don't want to post on LinkedIn. And I mean, honestly, I think some of the best people I know that do social selling don't actually post that much. They just really engage in really value added conversations with, their prospects online or their clients online. So I
Yeah, and
think
they're
it's,
learning too, yeah,
right.
behind the scenes and where they can add value to the conversation. And I don't think it's really just about gaining a following. It's more about
Yeah.
it's way beyond brand awareness or gaining that following.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So no, I love that. I think that's awesome. So, I was just curious from your perspective, like what's kind of been the trend in ABM? So if you think about like I've been marketing for 30 years, right? Like they're, it's taken different evolutions of ABM or ABX as you call it, as well. Like how many companies now do you think are using an ABM strategy versus maybe 10 years ago? Like where is that kind of trend line?
I definitely think that it's going up. I just think that the flavors or the way that they're doing ABM is probably changing because I've had a lot of experiences, that I've spoken to CMOs and they're like, we've invested in these ABM or intent platforms or the combination, and they're just not giving us the ROI we want. And I think it's because they are putting the cart before the horse, like they don't do the strategy. So I think people might be scaling back on their tech and kind of going back to strategy so that they
Yeah.
can have more resources, be more intentional of what they're doing, be more specific. And I think more and more people are doing ABM, but there's different ways of doing it. It's not for everyone necessarily. One to one may not be for everyone.
Right.
Might be more one to few, one to many. Might be depending what you're selling, depending who your market is, depending your sales cycles. I mean, there's all these different things that go into it, and you don't necessarily have to have an ABM tech platform or other solutions to get this going. So you can do it pretty bare bones, do a pilot, do a test version of it. And I think more and more people that I'm talking to are getting are adopting it. And if they haven't, they're also getting more buy-in from sales. Like they might be working on a pilot with one or two sales reps or AEs to prove it out to
Mhm.
everyone else because sales might be more resistant to change or resistant to getting involved, or they automatically think it's a marketing play and they don't need to be involved.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's like actually a good question. Who I do think that is. I mean, we talked about the alignment earlier in the conversation, but I do think that's a really critical piece because I think people always think, oh, well, ABM marketing owns that, right? Like I don't have
Yep.
to do anything, right? They should do everything. And I think that is what I see the biggest change in kind of that strategy, right? Is it's not just on marketing to do this. It's really, like I said, you need to be what are your prospects talking about? If you're doing a quarterly business review, that's on your customer success team and your AD, right? To hear what are they talking about so that you can use that as part of your strategy. So marketing is really, if anything, taking a lot of the stuff that sales and customer success should be hearing, maybe turning that into a marketing material, but they're not necessarily responsible for all of that.
Correct. Correct. It's definitely a group effort. And I think people need to think of it as how are we going to get accounts to revenue as opposed to we're just going to market to them or we're just going to sell them. How are we going to get to the revenue as a team? So that's where that go to market. If you have customer success, great. If you have RevOps, even better because they have the data to
Right.
prove where you should be going. But ultimately, it should be at least sales and marketing leadership that comes together and say, how are we going to go to market as a team? And so that we have this open line of communication that's always feeding one another. And it's a big circle of, info from sales to help marketing, and marketing creating content constantly, as opposed to that one off, well, we need something for this particular thing.
Right.
We need a white paper on X. It's more of a constant planning and flow.
Yeah, and I think it also helps if once again, the blame game is right. Sales is always, well, marketing doesn't get me enough leads, this and that. And I do think it's like, if you really take it kind of that team based approach, then you hopefully alleviate some of that, right? I mean, it's there's always a healthy tension there. It's just a matter
Oh,
of
yeah.
if it's healthy or not healthy, right? There's always going to be the tension. So, anything else, as we wrap up today, what are anything else I'm missing that sales leaders should really be thinking about as they start to either embrace an ABM strategy, accelerate their ABM strategy, anything that you want to make sure that people are aware of?
Yeah, I think people need to take a step back and kind of figure out where are their sales challenges lie, and how can marketing support them, and how can they create them to create that experience that they want to as a team. So like I said, many times sales are going to request different pieces of content that they'd like for marketing, and not necessarily where are challenges that we need help overcoming. So if sales, marketing, even customer success leadership need to have a conversation that's focused on business issues and how we can work as a team. I think another thing people need to focus on is focus on your true ICP, where you can get the greatest
Mhm.
revenue growth. Go beyond that data, that intent data, and go to account intelligence. Why is there intent in the first place? So that you can get more personal account relevance based on, the individual, what's going on in their organization, and you can say how you are relevant and be more personal to them at every point possible. So I'm talking like industry, company, rank,
Right.
division, operational. If you can get as relevant to all of those, it's going to make your conversation stronger and the relationship stronger, and hopefully lead to revenue.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's a really key piece of this, right? Is relevancy. I think that's definitely a great takeaway, along with all the other fantastic takeaways. But as we sort of close out, I feel like time has been flying. But like, what do you see? I mean, obviously AI is huge, we know, but like, what are some of the biggest changes you're seeing in sales and marketing, in our universe in the next couple of years?
I'm hoping that AI will not take over sales and marketing. We just push out more content and just
Yeah,
saturate the noise.
more
And
noise.
then
Yeah,
more noise, just what we needed. I'm
right,
hoping that
right.
there's going to be greater alignment through sales and marketing with chief sales officers, with chief marketing officers, even customer success, if they have a chief or a head of customer success, all
Mhm.
getting involved. Because if the change management is there, it's going to make everything run more smoothly, get better results. And if you see that your leadership is in on a program or in on an initiative, strategic way of doing things, especially delivering better account experiences, it's going to be a more of a team effort, as opposed to saying, this section of sales is doing, or this section of marketing is doing account based. And trying to figure out as a team where those sales leaks are. I hope that's what we come together to do in the
Yeah.
next couple of years. Just at the end of the day, we all want to make sure that the company that we work for is successful. So how can we get to revenue faster, more successfully, and even bigger deals if possible as a team? It's not just sales' responsibility anymore. We've gone to the days that they are
Yeah.
responsible for leading those numbers, or responsible for those hitting those numbers.
And I'm just curious, like we've talked obviously a lot about customer success, marketing, sales, like, in this world of sales enablement, where do they kind of fit into the ABM strategy?
I think sales enablement, it really is like the bridge between between sales and marketing. So they are providing intelligence on the account that maybe an AE can't do on their own, because they have hundreds of accounts they're responsible for. They're giving the insights, they're giving some data, they're giving content and messaging that's specific to maybe a couple of key high value accounts that AEs or reps are responsible for. So I really think that that's that bridge um,
Yeah.
between the two, and they can kind of act as, sales really needs help trying to get over this particular challenge with prospects. Marketing, what can you do to support? And that way, it's that open line of communications, and I think sales would be more open to it, only because it is sales facing.
Right.
As opposed to
It's like
saying,
on their
yeah,
team. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
No, I love that. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. The time flew. This was such a great conversation. I'm so glad we had a chance to finally have it. So what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
Best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn. Also make sure you're relevant to me so that I know where you're coming from.
Yes.
Um, and check out our website, personalabm.com. We have information on account-based enablement, account-based intelligence, and how to get more personally relevant to the accounts that you want to win, protect, and expand. So those are the best ways.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Kristina. And to all of our listeners, make sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform and connect with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Obviously, relevancy, but we'd love to hear from you. And until next time, happy selling.